So Silver North as a company provides two opportunities, I think, for the returns that were actually outlined in both of the previous talks. On the Lassonde curve, we saw just how much effect a discovery can have on the share price and the market capitalization of a junior company like ours. And with Haldane, where we have the initial discoveries of Keno-style silver veins, and down in the Silvertip district with Coeur, I think we have two excellent shots at those types of gains for our investors. Of course, I'm a geologist, so I'm very positive in outlook by nature. You can't be a geologist in the mining business and not be that way, else you'd be out pretty quick. Just talking about the two projects, both based in the Yukon. Haldane's in the central part of the Yukon. That is our flagship project in the Keno Hill district. As was intimated earlier by Richard, this is a over 100-year-old district. There's been over 200 million ounces of silver mined here. Probably another 100 million in reserve and resources that's been defined in recent years. We made a new discovery that I think is really important in November last year, 365 grams silver over almost 6 meters of true width. Within that, we do get some higher grade intersections of 1,000 grams silver. But in 16 holes that we've drilled on the property to date, we've discovered 3 new vein systems. So we're not just looking for one potential vein deposit here. We think we could have multiple vein deposits. And then Tim, down right at the southern part of the territory at the BC-Yukon border, we're just about 19 kilometers north of Silvertip mine, which is Coeur's project. We have trench results in 300 to 400 grams silver over 3.5 to 4 meters. The same host package of rocks that Silvertip is hosted in, and Coeur did a 6-hole drill program this past year, results of which are still pending, but we've seen enough geologically to be really excited about it. So jumping into the Keno district, you've seen a bit of this map already. John showed it in his talk. Really what I'm just trying to outline here is the blue rocks are very important for us. These are the basal quartzite. Richard touched on that. His project would be just at the right edge of this slide. This is a glacial valley. It's scraped away, the glaciers scraped away all the rotten overburden that would hide normally this silver mineralization. This allowed the old timers in the early 1900s to find fresh sulfide mineralization that led to the discovery and mining in the Keno district. At Mount Haldane, where we are, it sticks up out of the ground. The glacier's actually kind of wrapped around the mountain a bit. You might have had a little bit of valley glaciation, that's it. So what that has meant is that mineralization at Mount Haldane's been harder to find, and this is some of the opportunity for Silver North. So this is Mount Haldane itself. We're looking off to the northwest. Bighorn Creek is the valley that maybe one of these valley glaciers came up, scraped away some of the rock, and that allowed the Middlecoff and Johnson veins to be discovered in the early 1900s. Some very high-grade silver mineralization was mined in small operations there. Where we're working now is up on the hillsides where you don't really get a very good silver signature, but we've made discoveries at the West Fault where there's no silver mineralization observed on surface. The Bighorn area, same thing. We found that using soil geochem and followed up with one drill hole, and then Main Fault last year, which was our newest and we think most significant discovery. And the reason we say this is we've got two parallel faults here at West Fault and Main Fault. At the West Fault, we see mineralization on surface over about a 200-meter strike length. This is one of the only areas on the property where we actually can see or take samples that are silver-bearing on surface. We don't get much in the way of galena and the sulfides, but we're getting a couple 100 grams silver, which, as Richard pointed out, not terribly high grade, but we know now when you drill down and you hit these below that level of weathering and oxidation, we can get some very high-grade mineralization. In fact, we've had a 0.83 meter intersection of almost 2,500 grams per ton silver in last year's drilling. So we see about 300 meters of strike length where we can be drilling high-grade silver mineralization, and you could put kind of an average size Keno deposit in that 300-meter span. The best part is we have a pretty good relationship with the Hecla people. They've seen the core from our drilling last year and kind of said to us, we don't think you're in the best stuff, which was kind of eye-opening for us. We're like, well, what do you mean? He says, well, these structures look too big, and we usually see more higher lead zinc with our high silver grades. So now one of the prevailing thoughts is that we have these two parallel structures at Main and West Fault, which may be controlling structures, and there may be faults in between that link the two together where we will find higher grade mineralization. And that'll form the basis of our 2025 drill program, is both drilling out along that main fault on what we know, but also investigating the possibility that there's linkage structures that could be higher, wider vein systems. So what we really feel at Haldane in this part of the Keno district is that it's an underexplored area, even though it's a 100-year-old district. There's been kind of three pulses of exploration here. The early 1900s, then again in the 1960s, which expanded on some of the underground work, and now starting back, say, 2010, there's been another pulse of work that leads to what we're doing. We've got 3 new discoveries in the 15 holes that we've drilled there. We have the other 2 Middlecoff and Johnson areas, and who knows what else we'll come up with. So we really do see the potential here for multiple, Keno-style deposits at the Haldane property. Switching gears and heading down to the southern part of the territory in the Silvertip area, this district is an emerging CRD district that not really many people are talking about. In fact, Coeur was often looked at as having made a really big mistake when they bought the Silvertip project, say 5 years ago. But what they've done in the meantime, they shut down the mine, the mill wasn't working properly, and they focused on building their resource. And that resource has tripled in the last few years. And they've now starting to get the feeling that they've outlined a big district here that extends up into the Yukon, and our TIM project fits within that. So we've got to deal with Coeur. They're earning in $3.5 million in exploration to get 51. Then they have to take it to feasibility to get an 80% interest in the project. And they've done a really good job exploring in this district. We're taking accessing their expertise, what they know about the deposits in this area, and they're applying it on the ground. And they drilled 6 holes in 2024. Really following up on old trenching that had been done in the 1980s. We do see a little bit of silver mineralization on surface in some of these trenches, not very well understood. Their interpretation is we have this Wolf Fault, which might be a feeder system for CRD mineralization. So they've kind of just stepped back along the sort of 2 kilometers of the strike length, probably tested about 1 kilometer of it now with drilling. The idea being that if this is a feeder system, can we vector to where on that system you want to be for these deposits? If you're too close to the heat source, you don't get good silver mineralization. If you're too far, you don't as well. It's kind of that sweet spot. And with their knowledge of the district, we're pretty confident that they're going to be able to find that sweet spot. And the Wolf target, this is the Wolf Fault exposed in a trench. This is one of the Coeur geos in the trench there, and you can see that's 4 meters of 468 grams silver with some lead and zinc. And that's probably just a little bit of remnant sulfide mineralization that's not completely weathered that's giving them those values. So it's pretty good key for us that this is a productive area. But I think what's the most exciting part for us is in the drilling, even though we don't have the results, the Coeur people were very happy. And they see things, characteristics of CRD deposits elsewhere in the world, such as this barbecue rock, which is this just calcite veins that fluoresce under UV light. And it's because they have lead or manganese in the calcite. This is a product of the deposition of a massive sulfide in a CRD. You're taking carbonate out of one part of the rock and redepositing it outboard of that, and that's what that represents. So they use it almost as a proxy for mineralization. They see that, we're onto a system. So even without having results of last year's program, they made their cash payment for the year and are planning follow-up drilling already just based on what they know. And there's a well-known list Dr. Peter McGaw puts out on CRD deposits. Just from what we know now, we haven't compiled all the data that from Coeur yet, but we check off 8 of the 13 characteristics just on what we know now, so we're well along the way. So we think this is an emerging district. Not many people know about it. It's kind of a stealth play, and we're just really glad to have Coeur and their expertise on it, advancing it for us. So we really feel as for Silver North, you've got a great opportunity to be leveraged to 2 silver discoveries. We're both in favorable jurisdictions with major companies, either as a partner or as a neighbor, and I think that speaks highly of the areas that we're working in. I'll just leave it with, Richard talked about share structure. Again, we're a tight share structure, 47 million shares outstanding, and I think that's great bang for the buck should any of these future drill programs tag into a nice big one. So I'll leave it at that. I think we're going to do a Q&A at the booths afterwards, John? So we're available to go in depth further if you desire.